Hello, welcome to the third edition of the Sports Focus. I am Lucy Nwasasra, your host, and today we'll be discussing everything sport, local, national, and international. I am joined today in studio by Winterwald Tamuganzi and Ochoyo Ronald, our panelists for today. Starting from home, the UCU Cannons had a National Basketball League game against our Savior on Sunday, and they won by a one-basket margin, 66-67. And Peter Sifuma emerged as the player of the game. Ronald, what do you make of this game?
Well, the Cannons had the game on Sunday afternoon against our Savior, and they managed to win by a one-basket margin. The game basically started in the first quarter where the Cannons had a smooth run. They led our Savior straight up, and second quarter as well, they were looking at like the team that was on top already. But in second half, after the half time where our Cannons led 33-25, in second half, it seems our Savior came back into the game and they started pressing a little bit harder. So they closed up the gaps that the Cannons had left them in first half, and they ended up leading to a 67-66 margin, which was literally a crucial tie for the Cannons. But one thing about that game is that Peter Sifuma, the Kenyan international, actually emerged the player of the game, having made 15 points with 12 rebounds and 4 assists. So I think it's very instrumental for him. In the past seasons, he was kind of lagging in the shadows of players like Titus Odeke and Fayed Bale, who moved on to City Oilers this season. Yeah, they joined the City Oilers. So I think it's time for Peter actually to resurface, because he has been in the shadows of the latter. But I think now it's his time to showcase his gift that he had hiding. And moving on, I think the Cannons are generally performing this season. If you compare it to last season they were a bit better because they had the versatile players in Titus and Fayed. But this time around, we have new players on board, and adding on Peter, I think it's going to become a steady progress for Cannons as well.
That's quite the highlight. Looks like the UCU Cannons will be shooting for not just the stars. Moving on to Winterwald Tamuganzi. Could you give highlights about the Fufa TV Cup?
Yes, the Fufa TV Cup has reached its semi-final level right now, with SMAC taking on Ginger College. They played out their first leg in Chisubi, and SMAC was able to win 2-1. And then there was an interesting showdown between Kira College Boutique and Mengo SS. It ended 5-3, but it was a tight match because Mengo scored, Kira College equalized. They were head-to-head until Kira College managed to pull 2 goals back to make it 5-3. So we are waiting for the second leg of both matches, and hopefully we'll have an interesting final.
And actually, SMAC conceded their first goal in the semi-finals, their first goal of the tournament. And another interesting thing about that game between SMAC and Ginger College is that the goal scorers of SMAC are the same people that scored in the preliminary group stages against King's College, but the captain Mahad Mubiru scored and Griffin Mwesigwa. So I think it's interesting how some group of players are already sorting themselves in this tournament. Like, they're already sorting themselves for clubs to identify their qualities. And I think it's a good move for Fufa TV to give such players this venture that they have to showcase their talent.
The final squad of the She Cranes in the Netball World Cup 2023 that's going to take place in South Africa has been named. What are your expectations of the She Cranes, and what do you think their chances are in this tournament?
Historically speaking, the She Cranes are very promising because they won the 2017 Africa African Championship. They were 7th in the previous World Cup. So going into this World Cup, I think it will not be easy for them, but it will be possible for them to get even a better position, because first of all it's in Cape Town and that's in South Africa, so the weather will be on their side. Last time they were in Liverpool and that affected them a bit. And of course right now we've seen an increase in the local best players, the likes of Margaret Bagala, who is the assistant captain, Irene Yaru, who is the current captain, and of course even international players like Mary Cholok Nuba, who we are hoping to see step up, because in her league, for Loboro Lightning, she was a top scorer, 19 games, 908 goals. So hopefully she'll fill the shoes of Peace Proskovia, who is absent due to medical reasons.
On that very note, I'll pose this question to Ronald. Do you think Peace Proskovia's withdrawal will be missed? Her presence. Do you think her presence from the team will be missed?
Well, I think she's going to be emphatically missed, because she's the most experienced player we had in our camp, and basing on the fact that she has been captain, somebody else has to take on that role from her, and it's always challenging for somebody to take on a new role in competitive tournaments like the World Cup. So I think basically we are going to miss her, her potential and all that stuff, but we can still count on the players like Mary Cholok Nuba, who has been instrumental for our club, Loughborough Lightning, and we're going to count on the number of goals actually she scored in the English League, so that she converts them this side for the She Cranes as well. So I think we're going to basically rely on Cholok, Mary Nuba for the goals, and the few local-based players that have been instrumental as well.
What sort of impact or effect do you think her absence will cause on the club?
I think her absence will have a significant impact, because she has been in this team ever since for over 10 years. She even played in the 2013 championship in Singapore. She has been the captain. She has led them to a championship, an African championship, a top 10 finish at the World Cup. So her absence will significantly be felt, but I believe Mary Nuba will be able to step up as the main shooter, and so will Irene Yaru as the new captain.
Then to add on what Winter said, most times the new lads or the young players in camp, they rely on the experienced players for more motivation and push-ups, things like that. The coach might not have to say everything to each and every player, but the experienced players are more calm and they're more approachable to the young players. So I think missing Peace Proskovia is actually quite a bit of a loss to us as Uganda, but we're going to count on the experience of Mary Cholok Nuba, who has been outstanding in the English League as well.
You're still watching the Sports Focus. I am your host, Lucy Nwasasra. Let's go for a short break.
You are watching UCU Focus TV.
Welcome back to the last segment of the Sports Focus. I am still your host, Lucy Nwasasra. And in this segment, I am joined by Michael Ainomujisha and Isaac Matt. Now, over the weekend, the Vipers SC agreed to a partnership with the Wakiso Hills women sports team. On to Isaac, what do you make of the partnership between the Kampala Queens and the KCCA Vipers SC with the Wakiso Hills for the CAF Championship League?
I feel very happy that currently now our local sports is upgrading from a certain level to a bigger level. Yeah, last week, let me call it last week. Last season Vipers became the champions and KCCA they were the second. Yeah. So they are going to represent Uganda at the continent. But remember, CAF had brought a law or a legislation whereby each club which wants to compete at the continent has to be connected to a female football club. So I think Vipers they got in that memorandum with Wakiso Hills. It is a good thing because when you see Vipers is already located in Wakiso district.
Yep.
So Wakiso Hills is going to get all the girls from St. Mary's Chitende who play football.
Yeah.
The way they do at Vipers. And also for Kampala KCCA, they are going Kampala Queens, sorry, they are going to also get that that privilege of KCCA paying them, because KCCA is a government organization.
Yeah.
That means that the expenses, money, salaries, they will be already sorted. So I think it's a good move. And I am urging my club, Express, Villa, Wakiso Giants, all of them, let them take this route. It is going to be a good move for them. And by the way, don't forget that, Ruth, at Kampala Queens, we have our Ogi there.
Yeah.
Hafi Nasuna, who was the former captain.
So it's going to be competing now on the continent level, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know whether you have researched about this. How will they be putting on? Will they put will Wakiso change their kit to the Vipers?
When they are playing on the continent, there will be KCCA female team. When they're in the Uganda league, they are the Kampala Queens.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how the memorandum was.
Oh.
The terms and conditions of the partnerships will be looked into later. Onto Michael, how do you think these partnerships are going to impact the women's football in Uganda?
First of all, the one I liked most was the Kampala Queens partnering with KCCA. There's something that was interesting about that memorandum of understanding, where the Queens will be playing at the carpet at Lugogo, which is so amazing and important because the facility looks much better compared to what Kampala Queens has been using previously. That is one tick for the girls in the national league for the females. And another tick for the tournament is that Vipers having all these facilities and the money and all the equipment that requires to compete at the top level, sharing it with the women at Wakiso Hill team. It is so important for them. So coming up with such memorandums of understanding, it is a plus for the national, and it's good for the African football as a whole, because previously women were not considered. And if it comes a law under CAF that for a team to compete in the top competitions at the CAF level, to have women backing them the other side. So it is so important for us, and it's a win for the Ugandan football and the African football.
Looks like the women empowerment does not just stop elsewhere, but onto the sports as well. Moving on to the international beat, Al Hilal confirmed signing of Kalidou Koulibaly, and there are more transfers. How significant is the signing from Chelsea to Al Hilal to the club?
Yeah, for the Senegalese captain joining the Saudi Arabian league, it is a plus for him because previously he was struggling. Young boys like Wesley Fofana were playing very well. Trevor Choloba at Chelsea was playing very well compared to the Senegalese captain. And to a player who has been playing at top clubs in Italy, is now in Chelsea, not performing. A club like Chelsea wants results immediately. So for him to go at this stage of his life to Saudi Arabia, it is a benefit for his career because he will be earning money. for everyone to go in football, right, fine, you're going for talent, but there's that money factor. And at that stage of his career where he can't find top performances at Chelsea and other small clubs that in Europe can't afford his salary, going to Saudi Arabia, it is a benefit to him. And I'm looking at how all these transfers have been happening. Some will say they're chasing money, but players at the top of their careers, they have nothing to prove right now.
By the way, even I remember that deal when Manchester United wanted to get Kalidou before Martinez came in. Yeah. I don't know. I'm wondering because the way Kalidou flopped last season, I'm wondering how it would have been Kalidou and Maguire in the centre back at Manchester.
Absolute misery.
Yeah, and by the way, if you watch this friendly that they have just played with Brazil, Kalidou's speed has very much decreased, and I think the Saudi Arabian league is very much fit for him. Yeah.
Well, I understand that there are other transfers.
Yep.
Would you give a highlight about them? There is Mateo Kovacic.
Kovacic.
To Man City. Christopher Nkunku to Chelsea. Please give a little bit of highlight on these transfers.
Personally, I think before my comes in, I think that signing of Kovacic to Chelsea. Anyway, Kovacic is good because I was watching Sam Modric's documentary, and he was saying that Kovacic is one of the best midfielders he has ever played with.
Yep.
And remember, he's young. And if you remember that 2018 World Cup where 2018 World Cup where Croatia made history, you see that Kovacic was part of that midfield which has had Brozovic, Rakitic and Modric. Yeah, so he's a good, that country, I don't know, that country has good midfielders. Yeah, so he might be of a good privilege to Manchester City, since Ikai is already gone to Barcelona. Yeah, so I don't know what you take about that, but me, I think Kovacic will try to fit in because he has that supplying talent which Ikai had been having at Etihad.
Yeah, looking at the playing style of Kovacic coming to Manchester City at £25 million, it's a bargain and it's a win for Manchester City. He will come in, fit in very well. He will play that position where Ilkay Gundogan has left. That space has been filled very well. That void that was left by Kovacic, I was looking at other midfielders in the Premier League that can fit in very well, and Kovacic was my only option. And coming to a club like Manchester City, an organized team at this level after winning the Champions League, he will fit in, adapt and play very well. And away from that, William Timber to Arsenal. For Arsenal and William Timber over the weekend, they had agreed terms. Now it is up to Arsenal, and Ajax agreed the fee for the transfer. Arsenal struggled very much last season, almost ending.
At the defense?
Yeah, they struggled very much. If you look at the last 10 games, when Saliba was sick, they struggled. Creole, that Italian, the defender they brought in, just 15, he struggled very much to adapt to the styling style of Gabriel Magalhaes. Look at Rob Holding. With all those years at Arsenal, he failed to perform. And if you bring a player like William Timber, who has been top performer at Ajax, regardless of their performances last season, he has been consistent. And you look at when he was battling Martinez, the season they last won the trophy in Ajax, LVDZ. Coming to Arsenal will be a plus for Arsenal, and he will answer and solve some of the challenges they've been having at the back.
But I think that is a black and white.
Yeah.
It's an opaque deal, because first of all, Arsenal has been having that good centre back, like that partnership of Saliba and Tim.
But they are playing Champions League. You're forgetting they are playing Champions League.
Yeah, I know that.
They need more squad depth. Yeah.
Timber last season in the World Cup.
Yeah.
He was one of the starters in the North Holland team.
Yeah.
At Ajax, he has been a star. Now coming at Arsenal, that means Timber is going to be a bench man.
No, he won't be.
I don't expect Arteta to make one of those centre backs sit.
Maybe the reason why I'm supporting the transfer, Arsenal has FA Cup to play. They have the League Cup, which is the Carabao Cup. They have Champions League. They have Premier League. And they still have the hopes of competing for the championship. If they have such issues at defense that they had last season, it will be a challenge for them. And adding a profile like William Timber at this time of the transfer, very quick transfer, it will be a plus for them.
Allow me to stop you there. The significant changes and impacts of these transfers shall be updated to our audiences later. That's it for today. I'll give our panelists a chance to give a final remark.
Maybe my last thought is that Chelsea signing Kuku at this stage when Kai Havertz is leaving, the contracts had been agreed in the previous transfer window, but coming in at this time, it is good for Chelsea with the new coach Pochettino. Manchester United, Mount. I don't want to talk about that. That fee was too huge. £68 million they are requesting were too much for Mount. And Caicedo, Man United looking at it according to the Athletic over the weekend. It's a plus for them. If they can have Caicedo come to Manchester United, he will answer some of the...
To back up Casemiro.
Yeah, he will answer some of the chaos they had. Whenever Casemiro was sick, United will struggle. And having Adrien Rabiot would be good if they can't have Mount. Yeah, that's it I can say about sports. Maybe we are waiting for the pre-season games to start. On 12th, we shall be having a pre-season game starting.
Well, for your very vast knowledge, we'll have to call you in for another show.
We'll be glad to come back, yeah.
Thank you for joining us, Michael and Isaac, for this last segment. And thanks to Winter, Walter Muganzi, and Ochoa Ronald who joined us in our very first segment. Do not forget to follow and subscribe to our social media handles at UCU Focus. I am your host, Lucien Wasasro.